Hey everyone, it's Tyler and Michelle Stroik from Universal Rackets, and in this video, we're going to be going over why you are getting beat up the middle. Down the middle, solves the riddle, magic middle, heat the griddle, play the fiddle. So many players get beat up the middle. If you ever feel like you don't know which ball to go to, you don't know if you should let your partner go to it, I should go to it, you don't know why they keep on beating you up the middle, then this is the video for you. Now, why is the middle such a good spot in pickleball, Michelle?
Because it causes miscommunication on who should be hitting the ball. It's also the best place to find space on the court if there is any court positioning mistakes being made.
And think about it, when you're in open play, when you're playing pickup pickleball, not in a tournament, it might be the first time that you have ever spoke to your partner. First time you have ever met this person in your life. Communication is not always there at the start. So especially in rec open play, going down the middle is such a big tactic. And the reason why too is like if I play with you, or if you're another person and I've never met you in my life, I might be afraid to try to take your ball. I don't want to be a ball hog. Maybe you're expecting me to take the ball.
Correct.
So what are some top go-tos before we get into why players are getting beat up the middle? What are some top key points to cover the middle?
So the most important thing you need to think about in court coverage is to move with your partner simultaneously together.
Yes.
So if you hit a good drop and you have time to move up, I need to move with you.
Yes.
So we have to be in sync that way, that if he moves up, I move up. If he moves back, I move back. If he moves sideways, I move sideways. Because if he goes up and I stay back, the ball is going to come right here if you have anyone intelligent playing against you.
And not only moving linear, like you just said, but I was thinking more lateral. And what I mean by that, if you want to go over there a tiny bit, is when I go this way, where do you want to go?
I have to come with you or there's going to be a hole.
When you go that way, I go this way. So the best thing that you can do, especially if you're ever playing with a new player, is think that there's a line attached to each other. Like there's an actual line or string attached. So when I go over here, where does Michelle go? Over here.
And it could also be thought of like this too, kind of like we're creating a wall, right? So if you put your paddle out and I put my paddle out, look how much, and you put your other, look how much coverage we have here. That's like a pretty good distance. If he goes over to that line and I stay here, the wall's now broken and we have two smaller walls. You need to be moving together so that you can cover this, because that side of the court becomes a super low percentage shot.
And when you're playing rec pickleball, not many people know how to move with your opponent. So
with your partner?
With your partner. So the first thing is again, always try to move with your partner. The second thing I think is always go for the ball when you're playing pickup pickleball. And the reason why is because probably 9 times out of 10, this person's going to be hesitant as well. So I would rather, and like what we do in our clinics, I love it, Dave says, I would rather hear this than crickets. And what I mean by that is if your first instinct is to go to the ball, just go for it. It's perfectly fine, unless it's what? Right next to your
I've actually had a couple recent points playing myself lately where it was even maybe with you. I can't remember exactly who it was with, but the ball was coming here and he went to swing for it and I ended up taking a step back because it was like a ball that was coming down and he was swinging and the ball got past him, but I was still here behind him expecting to hit the ball.
Yeah.
Was that with you? Maybe it was with someone else. But I've had someone swing, my partner swing, they miss it, and then I'm still there to kind of like back up.
I've had that happen as well. So always go for the ball. That's another thing. And then the last thing is just take it as a forehand. Probably 9 times out of 10, what should happen is the person who has the forehand should go for the ball. So if Michelle's over there and I'm over here, and Michelle is a right-handed player, if a ball's coming through the middle, I'm going to shift over and hit my forehand, because 9 times out of 10, players prefer their forehands over their backhands, and they're better with their forehands than letting Michelle take a backhand.
Now there's quite the viral reel going around right now where someone asked whose ball is this, and it was a ball that was in the middle. And yes, I always like to say across the board, typically it's the best idea for the forehand player to take that middle ball.
Yes.
But if he happens to be out of position or he's stuck leaning this way and the ball's coming in the middle, it could be the other player's ball. So It doesn't really, I'm not very focusing on whose ball it is to be taken, as long as you guys are able to communicate together and cover the court in the best way possible.
And the last thing, communication. That is a huge thing. And guys, just talk to your partner. it makes it so much easier. If you have a partner that has no clue what they're doing, if you talk to them, probably, like, I enjoy when people tell me where to be on court. I like when we have a plan. So, for example, you can say mine, I got it, yours, go for it.
I even start doing it with the third shot. So you serve, they return, the ball comes back to you for the third. Even if it's obviously on his side of the court, I say you.
Yeah.
To make it, because there is going to be that middle ball that's going to be returned for the third, and you're not sure if I should take a backhand or he should take a forehand. I'm saying you, like, I'm just always communicating that, and then it will work your way up to it on the court too for dinks and middle balls.
Yes. Now we are going to be going over the number one reason why at least I kept on getting passed in the middle.
I've seen you
and
get
I feel
passed
like
in the middle quite often this week.
many players do.
Other people that weren't me too.
And here's the reason why, okay? So Michelle's gonna go over there. And what's the number one way to get better in pickleball? What's the number one way?
Drilling.
To drill. The more you drill and the less you play, the better you're going to be, okay? But here's where players go wrong, and this translates into actual play, and this is the reason why they leave the middle open. So when they're dinking, all you're worried about is just going cross court. We're just cross court dinking every single time. And all we're doing is we're literally standing here going cross court. You're working on what? Being consistent, getting the ball in. And this is all good, but what is it eliminating? When you go out and play, someone's gonna go like that and pass you up the middle. And that's what I think happened with us a ton. We were drilling, but we were drilling and we were just standing here because you're just thinking about dinking cross court. When you are drilling, you have to make sure that you're working on getting back to your center of your half of the court. So what we started to do after that happened to me, and you said, okay, I was getting passed up the middle still, maybe not up at the kitchen in this situation, but again, what we're doing now is when we're going, I'm shifting back to the middle. So I'm dinking, and now I'm back. And now I'm dinking, and then I'm back. And same thing, Michelle's always actively recovering. So you want to be actively moving when you're dinking. This is going to get you good and ready. Just standing there isn't. So if you can go out and you can drill and work on just getting back every single time and recovering, it's going to completely change your game. At least it did for me personally.
So if you're playing the left side, imagine that the center of this kitchen line is like a magnet and it's constantly pulling you back. That's if you're dictating the point. If you're trying to control and set yourself up for a pop-up so that you can put the ball away, if you're not playing defense, if you're trying to dictate, use this as a magnet. Now, if you're playing defensively and you want to make sure that you're covering the most amount of the court, you have to kind of essentially shadow the ball. So if the ball is coming out wide, you have to move over here to cover the line, and then the partner, as we talked about with the wall before, comes into play. But if you're in control of this point, you want to come back over here every single time. So once the ball gets neutralized, even when you're playing defense, you come back to the middle.
And always following the ball. And I think that's huge as well. If you can think that your paddle is following the ball at all times, it's going to help you not only locate the ball and get in proper position, but it's going to help your feet as well.
And if we are on the same page, even if we're brand new partners and we have the knowledge to know that when you're following the ball, you are in the best court position you can be in to win the point, you both will be in the same correct spot. So if the ball comes to the line and it's on this player's forehand for a dink, he has to come cover this line. And then if he's covering this line and he's following the ball over here, I'm also on this side following the ball. So I'm going to end up in the middle of the court here, because now if they want to take a good shot, it's got to go all the way over there, which gives me all the time to come back over here and reset myself.
And that's another thing as well, following the ball rather than your opponent. If you ever go on the court and your opponent doesn't know how to move, you can't really follow your opponent because maybe they're just, or sorry, your partner. I keep on saying opponent.
Yeah, I was trying to.
You want to follow, if your partner doesn't know how to move and they're just standing there, if you work on following the ball, it'll help you. Because,
it's like a clue to be on the same page.
Yes, at all times. So regardless of what your partner is doing, if you follow the ball, it's going to help you get at least into the best position.
A lot of people get confused and they think they're supposed to kind of mirror your opponent. So I'm not looking at what Sally and Joe are doing over there. I'm looking at where is the ball, because Sally and Joe could also have bad court positioning or being stuck on their magnet when they're recovered already.
Yeah.
If the ball's out wide, you have to come out wide because that ball can come up the line. You want to have the best coverage that you can have.
Yes. Now, we spoke about up at the kitchen. Now we're going to go back to the baseline and talk about the middle ball at the baseline.
That's where you are getting beat. So it's moving up through transition and not being sure who should take that low ball at the feet in the middle.
Here we are. Let's go.
One other thing that I really want to talk about here is that we make these videos to help you guys understand the game of pickleball and to give you tips and strategy to play better. But you have to remember, pickleball is the opposite of black and white. There isn't like every single time the forehand takes the balls in the middle. It's such a gray game because there are so many factors that come into the right decision. And if you can have a good strategy behind you before you step on the court, to understanding, you have to figure it out in your head. That's why people play this as they get older, and it's so good for the brain because you have like a split second to make the decision and have that come out of your body.
And I think that's huge. Again, it's multicolored. It's not black and white. It's like you have the basic thing that you want to go by and that you want to try to do.
Right.
But it's so short, it's so quick, you're going to have to go off the book. You're going to have to recreate different things. And one big thing was in a previous video, I talked about being up at the kitchen. We were talking about taking the ball out of the air. And one person said, well, hey, you are supposed to step back. What are you talking about? You're telling everyone to stay up at the kitchen.
Right.
I've seen people move back. And yes, number one,
Yes,
we're in beginner,
correct.
Intermediate, club level players. That's who we cater to at Universal Rackets. But the second thing is, yes, you are correct, but in certain situations.
And you're almost always right. Like if you're going to tell Tyler everything he says is wrong, you're probably right. It could be wrong.
Yeah.
But we're talking about ideas that are going to get like a textbook. You're studying the game so that when you see it, you know your options.
It's like, for example, learning it in college and then putting it to the real world. It's not going to be the exact textbook. There's going to be different situations because of different problems. And here's a big thing, like going back to it, do you always want to be up at the kitchen? Yes. Do you want to try to take every single ball out of air? Yes. Are you supposed to move back sometimes? Yes,
Maybe.
but your goal is to always be up at the kitchen unless you get a high ball that's just floating. So now we're going to be talking about this middle ball. So a big thing is when you serve, you have to let the next shot bounce. So you're going to be over here, I'm going to serve, and now I'm going to serve, and then where do they want to return? In the middle. Now, who wants to get the middle ball after you serve? Technically, 9 times out of 10, the person with the forehand, because the forehand is easier to hit a drive or a drop. So if you're ever serving and you're a right-handed player, this ball that's around here in the center is my ball every single time. Now, if you're playing with a new player, what's going to happen? Maybe you're going to try to get in, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to say mine. So again, I'm going to serve, the ball's going to come over here, I'm going to say mine, and then I'm going to go for the next shot. If I'm serving over here and she's over here, whose forehand is in the middle? Your forehand. So I'm going to serve, and now you are going to get it. So 9 times out of 10, when you're back at the baseline, the person with the forehand is going to be taking the middle ball. Now, how do you make sure that you take the middle ball and you don't confuse your opponent? You say mine, you communicate. Now, what's the worst thing?
It has to be said before you start playing the game. Especially if you're in rec, a lot of players feel as though this line separates the two of us. I don't know you, never met you in my life.
Yeah.
Don't come to my side. I'm here just to have fun. And if that's how Jane wants to play, know that before you serve the ball.
Yeah, and that's another thing before. So if we're playing, you're brand new, I've never met you in my life.
Like, I don't even care what your name is. I don't care your name. I want to know who's taking the middle balls. Do you want me to take them as my forehand?
Yeah.
Or would you like to take them as a backhand?
And
Just let me know so a ball isn't missed.
And like you said, so before, like I just met you, never met this
Don't
beautiful blonde woman in my life, but hey, nice to meet you. Apparently you don't care about my name, so that's
care.
okay. But what I'm going to do in our match is
Partner.
I got all the middle forehands.
Yeah.
So any single time, ball comes over here. Oh my gosh.
1 minute. I have to go in 1 minute.
1 minute, we're good. I'm gonna wrap this up.
Okay.
Swallowed a bug, I think, guys, sorry. So anytime I get a ball here and it's in the center, it's my forehand, I'm taking it. Any single time the ball goes here and it's your forehand, you're taking it. Perfect, we spoke before. She doesn't care about my name. We're good to go, and we're going to be able to communicate. So that's the number one thing. The worst thing to do is to serve and literally just watch the ball goes by. And how many times does that happen?
I don't know. And you take 1 second to think about it if you didn't establish this before you play.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more
And then it gets
depressing.
depressing, and then you are afraid to hit the next ball, and it's so weird, and it like affects your whole game. So make sure that you communicate. Make sure that you drill. Again, the number one reason why you're getting passed up at the kitchen line is because when you drill your dinks cross court, you're just standing there. Make sure you actively move. Make sure you communicate. Make sure that you have a line tied to you and your partner.
A wall.
a wall or a line. I like to
Don't
think
break
that
the
there's a
wall.
line between us. I like to think that there's a line. You can say wall, whatever you
We
want to
just
do.
think differently.
And the last thing, different things work for different people, and
That's
that's
right.
amazing, Michelle. That's why I'm like a 5'5", you're like a 5'0". But keep on going though. The next thing as well is if your partner doesn't know how to move, you are following the ball with your paddle, and you're going to be so much better. Get past less up the middle. You're going to win more points. Communicate more with your partner. People are going to want to play with you more because you can control the court.
And it kind of like gets rid of any type of nerves or awkwardness. If you come in with a strategy like, nice to meet you, who's taking the middle?
Yeah, that's what you should say next time. So next time you go on court after watching this video, leave, comment, subscribe, check out our links, get a Selkirk paddle gift card with purchase, link in bio, subscribe to our newsletter. But
Happy Mother's
next
Day.
time, happy Mother's Day to all
Got
the
my
moms
Mother's Day
out there.
bracelet.
And last thing, next time you go and play, before you go and play with your partner, before that first ball serve, say, hey, who's taking the middle? Or I got the middle. And you'll be so much better off. Have a good one, guys. See ya.